And just a little bit of a heads up about this podcast. I did say during it in my little chat about the Knights and Bulldogs game that potentially the New South Wales squad may release Matt Burton to the Bulldogs. However, that will not be the case. Matt Burton has been selected as the 18th man for New South Wales, and apparently it is the third time that he won't be allowed to go back to Clubland and play the game 5 days before Origin. So 18th man is for New South Wales is Matt Burton, and he will not be released by New South Wales to go and play for the Bulldogs. In the podcast, I did say they may release him to go back and play, but I have since learned that that will not be the case, and he will not be playing for the Bulldogs. 19th and 20th men, however, Luke Keary and Mitch Barnett from the Warriors will be able to go back to their clubs and play, although the Warriors had the bye this weekend. The Roosters will be playing on the Sunday. The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. It is the Troy's tipping podcast for week 13, round 13 of the NRL, which sees a bit of a sort of, well, not a split round, but a lot of teams have got the bye due to State of Origin game number 1. So we have the Broncos, Rabbitohs, Manly, Storm, Titans, Warriors, and Tigers having a bye. So we've got 7 teams having a bye this weekend. We still have 5 games of rugby league to talk about and also tip as well. Now, look, if you followed my tips last week, I feel sorry for you. I only got 4 out of 8, unfortunately. Not a good round for myself. And as I said, hopefully you didn't follow them. Otherwise, you would have only got 4 as well. So I'm sorry about that if you did follow my tips. But look, that's the way it goes. There was some, I guess you could say, upsets over the weekend. We did see the, what have we got here? Look, I did tip Parramatta. Obviously, they went down. They got beaten by the Rabbitohs. And look, I did tip the Dragons as well. They got flogged by the Bulldogs. And I did tip the Storm as well. They got beaten by the Sea Eagles. And there was one more that I missed out on as well, I think. So anyway, that was last week. This week. I'm going to get 5 out of 5 this week. I just know it. It's going to be a perfect round, 5 out of 5. You don't want to be getting 2 or 1. But anyway, let's get into it. And it starts on Thursday night at CommBank Stadium. And it is the Eels taking on the Sharks. The first place Sharks taking on the 15th place Eels. Now, pretty tragic if you're an Eels fan like myself, being in 15th spot on the ladder. It is definitely not where we should be, but we have had some major injuries, and the great news is that the King, Clint Gutherson, is back, and also Mitchell Moses, his offsider as well, is back at halfback as well after only playing 3 games this season. So coming back from a foot injury. So great to see Mitchell and Clint Gutherson back. So they are the 2 major players that are back into this side. Obviously, Jermaine Hopgood, congratulations to him on making the Queensland State of Origin side. He is out of this game. He is a reserve for Queensland, so congratulations to him. He was on the radar late last year, and he was in the squad last year for game number 3, and this year he has got number 16 for Queensland. So congratulations, Jermaine. Well done. Hopefully you don't go too well against New South Wales, who I support. But anyway, getting into this game, he is the only out. And the side for Parramatta looks like this. Clint Gutherson, Mike Acevo, Will Penasini, Sean Russell, Bailey Simonson, Dylan Brown, Mitchell Moses, Regan Campbell-Gillard. Brendan Hands gets to start at hooker. Now, I like that selection. That is a good selection from interim coach Trent Barrett. Junior Paulo, Kelma Tuolagi, Bryce Cartwright, Joe Ofahengawi goes into Jermaine's lock position. Blaze Talangi is number 14. Be interesting to see how he is used. Sean Lane, Maka Hesse, Makatoa, and Wiramu Greg on the interchange bench. So a new look, I guess you could say, Parramatta Eels team. And for the Sharks, well, they are missing Cameron McInnes, who is a workhorse, a tackling machine, and Nico Hines as well, their playmaker. And look, he's their organiser, their playmaker. Only played half a game, or less than half a game last week, due to a HIA and also a calf complaint, but the game that they played against the Panthers was already gone, so they lost 42-0 against the Panthers, so Parramatta coming off a loss against the Rabbitohs. So look, both teams desperate to win, probably Parramatta more than the Sharks at this time of year, with the best players from the Sharks obviously being out. The Eels, they look probably stronger on paper, I'd say, with those inclusions of Clint Gutherson and Mitchell Moses. Dylan Brown goes back to 5'8". So, look, this is going to be a really interesting game. The last time they played was way back in, I think it was like round 2 of the competition last year. It was a win to the Sharks, 30 points to 26. And the previous one was also in March of 2022. So we haven't played that too many games. We only seem to play the Sharks once a year. And I do think it could be for the Johnny Manor Cup as well. Rest in peace, Johnny. Unfortunately passed away a few years ago now. And Johnny played for both Parramatta and the Cronulla Sharks. So that'll be the annual Johnny Manor Cup fixture. So, look, any silverware is great to win. Also, the late, great Paul Green, he played for the Parramatta Eels and the Cronulla Sharks as well. On the reverse side, Adam Dykes, he used to play for the Sharks back in the day. He also played at Parramatta as well. So there's a couple of players who have played for both clubs. Look, I'm going to tip Parramatta on this occasion. Call me crazy if you must. I don't mind, but I just think with a lot more to play for, I think they will get the win, and with those two big inclusions of Mitchell Moses and Clint Gutherson, that is a great thing for Parramatta. So I think they will get the win. Friday night, only the one game on Friday night, is the Knights taking on the Bulldogs. Now, this is 7th, the Knights taking on the Bulldogs 10th, and this one's up at McDonald Jones Stadium up there in Newcastle. And look, Bradman Best is still out, unfortunately. Kalen Ponga is obviously still out, but David Armstrong is doing a fantastic job back there at the fullback spot. Look, this is going to be tough for the Bulldogs, having Matt Burton and Steve Crichton out due to New South Wales origin duty. Maybe Matt Burton may get released to come back and play in this game, considering he isn't in the actual New South Wales team or on the reserves bench. He is at an extended reserve, I believe. So he may get released to come back and play for the Bulldogs. At the moment, they have Drew Hutchinson and Toby Sexton in the halves. So just have to wait and see. And it came out, I think, yesterday that Viliami Kikau as well has suffered an injury. I can't remember which one it was, but he will be out for about 4 to 5 weeks as well, so a big loss for them in the back row. Look, the Bulldogs, as I've been keeping on saying each and every week, they are the most improved team in this competition at the moment, and they are playing some good footy. They had a big win against the Dragons last week, 44 points to 12. They did beat the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs did beat the Knights earlier on in this season, so it is the second time that they have played. That game was 36 points to 12 in favour of the Bulldogs, so they have got the win there. I dare say that would have been a full-strength Newcastle side at the time, so a few players out of the Newcastle side this time around, most notably Bradman Best. As we know, Kalen Ponga has been out for a long time. Being up at Newcastle, I'm going to tip Newcastle to win this game. I just think with Steve Crichton out, that's a massive loss for the Bulldogs. He is their leader. He is their captain. So I just think that is a massive loss for them. A captain hasn't been named for the Bulldogs, but I would think that probably Reid Marnie would take the captain, have the C next to his name for this one, I think. But look, I'm going to tip Newcastle in this one. I just think they had the bye last week. They'll be fresh, ready to go. Whether or not some players went to Bali last week, who knows, just like Bradman Best did last year. But look, I think the Knights, they'll be too strong at home, in front of their home fans. And look, they have a pretty strong side. I think the Bulldogs will give them a good run for their money, but they just won't get the job done. I think the Newcastle Knights will win that one. Saturday, 2 games on Saturday, starting with the Panthers and the Dragons at Bluebet Stadium. The Panthers up there now into second spot, and also the Dragons in 12th spot. So, interesting game this one. The Dragons obviously getting flogged by the Bulldogs last week. 44 points to 12. The Panthers, a pretty much full-strength Panthers, obviously without Nathan Cleary still, beat the Sharks 42-0. That was an absolute smashing. The Sharks still in top spot on the ladder, but wow, what a smashing that was. But the Panthers, they are without 5 Origin players. Obviously, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, Brian Toto, Dylan Edwards, who was going to make his New South Wales debut, and Jerome Luai as well. So some big outs for the Panthers, but we have seen time and time again that the next man stands up and gets the job done for the Panthers. Dane Laurie goes into Dylan Edwards' spot at fullback. Jesse McLean comes onto the wing for the Panthers for Brian Toto. Jack Cole and Brad Schneider are the half 5'8" combination for the Panthers. Jack has got a bit more experience in that position whilst Nathan has been out, and we've seen Brad Schneider fill in pretty well whilst Nathan Cleary has been out. He's been injured the last few weeks, but he is back now. Look, they still have a pretty formidable forward pack. Moses Leota, the Bash brothers, James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Kenny at hooker, Scott Sorensen, Liam Henry and Lindsay Smith. Mav Geyer on the interchange bench, along with Tyrone Peachy, Preston Rickey and Trent Talau as well. So, look, still a great looking forward pack there. We know what these backs of the Panthers can do, and as I mentioned before, the next man up mentality really shines out for these Panthers. The Dragons, they will be missing obviously Ben Hunt, Jack Bird, who injured himself last week, Jaden Sewer for Queensland Origin duty along with Ben Hunt, and Zach Lomax is making his New South Wales debut as well. So look, it's going to be tough for the Dragons, having beat their three best players, I guess you could say, out of their side. Jesse Marshke comes in at halfback for Ben Hunt. Kyle Flanagan obviously stays there as well. So, look, there's a number of changes for this Dragons side. Their forward pack still looks pretty strong as well. So I think this is going to be a good forward battle between these two sides. Francis Molo, Jack DeBellin, who's got the captain next to his name. Jacob Little and hooker Luciano Leilua, Raymond Fatala Mariner, Tom Eisenhuth. So a pretty strong forward pack as well. So as I said, I think this game is going to be played in the forwards. Whoever wins the forward battle will give their backs a lot more room to hopefully score points. Look, I think this is going to be a difficult task for the Dragons. I know Shane Flanagan will get this team up for this game. He doesn't tend to lose too many games in a row by big scores, so I don't think it'll be a big score. This is the first time this season that they have met. Last season, it was around about this time on the 4th of June last year. The Panthers won 26 points to 18. So that was a close encounter, but that was with pretty much both of them having a full strength side. So a little bit different this time around with Origin. So I'm going to tip the Panthers, but I think the Dragons will go close, but I just think the Panthers will be too strong in this one at home. The second game on Saturday sees the Dolphins in 4th position play the Raiders in 8th position on the ladder, up there at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. Now, I went by there the other day when I was up there at Magic Round. I went by KO Stadium. I have been there once before, but there was no event on. I went there to the Leagues Club and had a look outside to the field, so it was dark, but this time I had a look during the daytime, saw a few of the boys training, and look, KO Stadium, it's a nice little boutique stadium there in Redcliffe. I think this will be a pretty strong crowd, big crowd there, Saturday night, up there at Redcliffe. And look, for the Dolphins, they've got Felice Kafusi and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow out with Queensland Origin duties. But look, they've got Trey Fuller. He's back now in that fullback spot. And look, how good is this guy? Scored a great try against, I think it was Manly at Suncorp Stadium a few weeks ago now. But he really has burst onto the scene. A late bloomer in the NRL, 27 years of age. But look, that's a pretty handy replacement for the Hammer to have Trey Fuller back in this side. So great to see him back as well. And Mark Nichols, the GOAT, as they like to call him, a fan favourite, that's for sure. He replaces Felice Kafusi. So look, it's still a pretty strong looking side for the Dolphins. Still got Herbie Farnworth in the centres there, Jermaine Asako on the wing, he can score a try or two, and Isaiah Katoa at halfback as well. He's playing some great footy. There was talk about him possibly being a Origin smoky for New South Wales, but only a little bit of talk, but he obviously didn't get that spot. So for the Canberra Raiders, they've only got Hudson Young out. He's playing for New South Wales in Origin, so only the one out for them. So a near full strength team for them as well. Still a young halves pairing in Ethan Strange and KO Weeks at halfback. Ethan Strange has been playing some good footy and has come into contention for Rookie of the Year, which will be announced obviously later on in the year. Josh Papali'i is back at prop after suspension. And look, it's still a pretty strong side as well. look, I think the Dolphins will get this win. The last time they played was last year, and this game was actually being played down at Wagga, McDonald's Park in Wagga, where Jamal Fogarty kicked the winning field goal in golden point extra time, the 83rd minute. 31-30, the Raiders won on this occasion. Jack Whiten scored a try for the Raiders back there. He's not there, obviously. He's gone to South Sydney. So it was 22-12 at halftime on that occasion, and the Dolphins came back, and it was only a 1 point victory to the Raiders. Look, I don't think it'll be 1 point in this game. I think it'll be a bit more than that. I think there'll be plenty of points scored in this game. I think the Dolphins will get the win at KO Stadium and continue on their way to maybe a top 4 finish in this season. If they can get wins during this Origin period, it'll be pretty important with having their best players out, especially having the hammer out. But if they can get this win against the Raiders during this Origin period, then that will be good for them and hold them in good stead. And look, who knows? They may get a top 4 position in 2024. Some would say that they are the most improved team this season. So, look, both of them and the Bulldogs are right up there for sure. I'm going to tip the Dolphins in that one. And to round us out on Sunday, just the one game on Sunday, 4:05 p.m. at Allianz Stadium, sees the Roosters, the 5th place Roosters, take on the 11th place Cowboys. And look, the big news obviously during the week was James Tedesco. He got dropped from the New South Wales side, so he will actually be playing for the Roosters, and obviously still captain, at fullback. Look, the Roosters have still got some players out. Joseph Suaalii, Lindsay Collins, Spencer Leniu, Egan Butcher, who unfortunately has gone for the season with an injury, Angus Crichton on Origin duty. So they do still have some players out. The Cowboys as well, they have 6 players out due to Origin. Jeremiah Nanai, Murray Tuolagi, Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, Tom Dearden, Valentine Holmes, Reece Robson for New South Wales, the rest for Queensland. So they've got a lot of players out as well representing Origin teams. And look, that can be a disruption for this side when you take a lot of their best players out. Jake Clifford comes back into the 5'8" spot. Chad Townsend captains the team this week at halfback in the absence of Tom Dearden and Ruben Cotter. So he captains the side again. So, yeah, with those players out, the Cowboys are going to find it hard to get this win, I think. The Roosters, they've still got James Tedesco, Joey Manu, Luke Keary as well has been named, Sam Walker, Dom Young, Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, Brandon Smith, Terrell May, Nat Butcher, Victor Radley. So they've still got a pretty strong squad as well. And Satili Tupanura on the interchange bench, and the old stager, I guess you could say, Michael Jennings, who recently played his 300th NRL game, is on the interchange bench at number 17. So, look, I think this is still a quality Roosters side. This Cowboys side is depleted at the moment, so I think I will tip the Roosters, and as I said, those 7 teams having the bye this week. So, look, my tips for this week are, and follow if you dare, I'm hoping to get 5 out of 5 this week. Even though it's a shortened round, hopefully I can get a perfect round. And I am tipping the Eels, Knights, Panthers, Dolphins, and Roosters. And let me know if you can tell me what the connection there is. But that's my tips for this week. The Eels, Knights, Panthers, Dolphins, Roosters. And then the 5th of June is the Blues versus the Maroons. Maroons on Game 1 of the Ampol State of Origin series. Now, if you head to the Paracave Podcast Instagram page, and if you are in New South Wales or able to get to New South Wales, there is a Origin Game 1 ticket competition up there, so check that one out. There is a post about that one where you could win 2 tickets to Game 1 of the State of Origin series as on Wednesday, June 5. So check that one out, get involved in that one, and you may be the lucky winner of those 2 tickets. So hoping to get some special guests to do a Origin preview potentially coming up next week, so stay tuned for that one. But that's all I've got this week for my tipping podcast. That was my tips for the week. And look, as I said, follow if you dare. I'm hoping to get 5 out of 5 this week. So I had a dismal week last week, so I need to bounce back and get that factor, much like the Eels need to bounce back this week and get the win as well. So enjoy your footy this weekend, and I hope your team gets up, and I hope you get your tips right as well. Thank you very much for listening. Please share it, and look, enjoy your footy. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.